When you put something in your mouth and you don't know where that thing came from because it's a one-night stand, right? Hello, you're inviting diseases. You're inviting a lot of things into your system. There is no such thing as safe sex because there isn't. Some of the diseases, they stay with you your entire life. And then you ask her, but we used a condom. Why did I catch this disease? You want the sarap for now. You want the sarap now because it's masarap. But then what happens after? Hi, everyone. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 9 of Ask Say the podcast. I'm your host, Saytioco, and what a beautiful day to be back here at Sage Studios, the only podcasting studio here in BGC. This studio is a content creator's playground. We have soundproof rooms for podcasters, high-tech equipment, microphones, cameras. We have the Rodecaster Pro, and outside is a beautiful space where you can just film anything, OOTDs, whatever you need to film. And for the beauty enthusiasts, we have a makeup room where you can apply your makeup, film your makeup videos. This is just a beautiful, beautiful studio. Book your session now here at Sage Studios. I'll have all of their details in the information box. Today, we're going to talk about sex. And if you've been there when I launched this podcast back in 2020, you would know that one of the main pillars of Ask Say the podcast was to talk about sexual empowerment. So when I went through this massive shift in my life, one of the top questions is, are you still going to talk about sex? Is it important? Yes, it is. Do we have to talk about it? Yes, we do. Have my views changed about sex? Yes, they have. Is there a way to talk about sex without leading people to the wrong path? There is. And this is currently what I am trying to navigate with the help of people who know about this subject more than I do. Specifically, Christian people who know more about this subject more than I do. I remember asking Pastor Dennis a question one time. So I attended this talk with Tito Anthony Pangilinan and Pastor Dennis. And I was just so curious. This was very early on in my walk in faith, and I was in this contemplation process, thinking if I should continue creating content about sex education or should I stop? And maybe most of you already know that I used to put out content about, pleasure toys and all of that stuff. So my question to Pastor Dennis was, is there a way to justify creating content about pleasure toys? And he gave me a very gentle but very firm, no, there isn't. There really isn't. So I was like, aw. But that was back then. Because again, I was a baby Christian and I did not know what to do. But now I do. Because I was a baby Christian back then and I did not know how to let go of the former things and just trust what's coming for me. That was back then. That was last year. So it's been a couple of months since that conversation with Pastor Dennis. And now I see it. It's crystal clear. You can't justify it. You can't justify creating content about pleasure toys. And it's just not right because it's not aligned. The more I became a Christian or the more I got to know Jesus, there's just no way. You can't. I can't. One of the first things that we know that Christians say is that you cannot have sex. You cannot have sex, especially outside of marriage. Premarital sex is wrong. You can't have sex. You can't. And my initial reaction as a person, I wasn't in faith before. I didn't know Jesus. My initial reaction was, anong bawal? Hindi yan bawal. Gagawin ko kung anong gusto ko. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. I'm gonna have sex with a lot of people. Because the world sells sex to us in such a way that you're really going to be enticed to do it. The world tells us, be independent and do whatever you want to do. And that is the key to happiness. That is the key to contentment, doing whatever you want to do. And I feel like I have a qualification to talk about this subject because I went through that phase. I was that girl who lived life independently, not caring about what other people said about me. I did whatever I wanted to do. One night stands, sex with people, all of that, partying, drinking, just all of that. I lived that life. The title for today's episode is There is No Such Thing as Safe Sex. Because there isn't. I mentioned earlier that there is a way to talk about sex without leading people to the wrong path, which I feel like I kind of did before because I wasn't really, my values weren't on point. I didn't have Jesus in my life. So whatever came out of my mouth, diba sabi nila, whatever the heart is full of, it's gonna overflow. So my heart wasn't with Jesus back then. So whatever I shared to the world, it was rooted more on selfishness because I thought about me, my pleasure, I. It's rooted in that. There is no such thing as safe sex. I remember I did this project for a condom brand, and we went around schools or universities talking about safe sex. We talked about using condoms. We talked about using dams, taking all the necessary steps to protect yourself from diseases, from STDs, from whatever. And I thought to myself, okay, we're teaching people to use condoms. When we think about condoms, first thought is you don't want to get pregnant. That's the main thing, right? You don't want to get pregnant. But aside from that, when I grew up and I learned more and more and more about sexual health and reproduction and everything, it is not only pregnancy that we are trying to avoid when we use condoms or when we use contraception. We also want to avoid getting diseases. And some of the diseases, they stay with you your entire life. And I feel like I need to put emphasis on that because number one, we live in a broken world and we encounter broken people. We're all broken, right? And just think about the partying scene. I know a lot of people who are listening right now have gone through that process or that phase of partying and just living life YOLO, like you only live once, do whatever you want to do. I still remember nights in Poblacion where I would just be so excited putting on my makeup, pre-gaming at home while putting on my makeup, just blasting music and just feeling so alive. And I feel like, oh, this is the life. I'm going to go party tonight. Maybe I'll meet a guy. Maybe we'll have sex and all of that. And back then it felt like I was on cloud nine. And I know that it is a phase that a lot of people have to go through for them to learn lessons. So then you push through with partying and then getting drunk and then having a one-night stand, let's say, for example. And then you wake up after a few days and you realize that something is wrong down there. So then you go to your OB and then she tells you that you got an STD. So then she prescribes you with medicine. And then you ask her, but we used a condom. Why did I catch this disease? Because condom is not 100% safe. And I'm sure that somewhere in the box it says that. And this is like a reference to a Friends episode, if you remember Ross. But it doesn't guarantee that you're not going to get pregnant. And then it doesn't guarantee that you're not going to get an STD. If you didn't know that, I am telling you now. Because when you use a condom, you have to use it properly. And do you think that when you're all, filled with passion, kissing each other and doing all of that, do you think that the condom stays in place? Do you even think that the person that you're sleeping with, do you know if they're using the right size, if they put it on properly, if it was contaminated before it was put on? All of these little things. Again, using a condom does not guarantee that you won't get pregnant, that you won't get an STD, because other diseases, it only takes skin-to-skin contact, and then that's it. It only takes skin-to-skin contact. Am I scaring you? I am not. It is a fact. You can look it up. It is a fact. These are just realities in life that I feel like I need to share because I know that a lot of people are heading in that phase. And I know, people will learn at their own pace with their own experiences, but it doesn't hurt, to have episodes like this be like a flag, of a warning flag to people na dahan-dahan lang. Don't rush too much. Don't rush too much because it is uncharted territory. It may seem like a territory that's going to give you a lot of pleasure. Sure. Yes, it's going to give you a lot of orgasms. Yeah, sure. But then the consequences of that, it may not be something you like. It may not be very pleasant. So going back to this project with this Condom Rant, so we went around universities, and I remember this day that we were at UP, University of the Philippines, and we talked about dams. And this is not something na sobrang sikat in the Philippines. Like, you don't hear people say na, yeah, I used a dental dam before I gave a blowjob. You don't hear people say that, right? But it's basically a condom for your mouth. So before you give a blowjob, you have to have that. But have you heard your friends say that? Do people use it? No. And when you put something in your mouth and you don't know where that thing came from, because it's a one-night stand, right? Hello, you're inviting diseases. You're inviting a lot of things into your system. And like I said earlier, it only takes skin-to-skin contact to get something, to get a disease sometimes. What more when you put something in your mouth? There's going to be a mix of fluids in there, down to your throat, down to all of your oral cavity. You get what I'm saying? So what more, right? Kung skin to skin nga, meron nang pwedeng makuha. What more when you put something in your mouth and you don't know where that thing has been, and you're not using a dental dam and he's not using a condom? Imagine that scenario. Is it pleasurable? Sure, maybe it is. But I want you to think about the consequences of all of these pleasurable things. Because yes, you want the sarap for now. You want the sarap now because it's masarap. But then what happens after? Did you ever think about the after? We don't, diba? When we're too addicted to that high, that feeling of pleasure, na parang ang sarap-sarap na daw, I want more of it. Do we ever think about ano kaya mangyayari next? What's gonna happen next? All the sarap, it clouds our judgment. It clouds our judgment, which is also why I have stopped drinking, because drinking clouds your judgment as well. What happens if you're drunk na? And when I mean drunk, like super duper wasted drunk, nawawala. Your ability to make rational decisions and wise and smart decisions, nawawala siya. It's a dangerous territory to be in, especially if you don't have self-control. How can you have self-control if you're drunk na, diba? You won't have it. And there are other forces that will control your body, and you wouldn't like that as well. I don't want to get spiritual here, but we all know that if you are not in control of your body, something else is controlling your body. And if you are in an environment where there are a lot of demonic spirits messing with people, that's a very dangerous territory to be in. It's very dangerous to not be in control of your body, of your will, of your mind. It's very dangerous, I am telling you. When I was living that lifestyle before, I found myself in a cycle. And it is the cycle of I sleep with someone. Next is I worry about my health. Next is I go to my OBGYN. I get a panel of STD tests. And then I get good results. Next is I swear never to do it again. And then the next phase is back to sleeping around again. What's the next one? Worrying about my health again, going to my OB again, getting a panel of tests done again. And these tests, they're not cheap. I would spend thousands of pesos to just get everything checked. And it was just a crazy, toxic cycle. And I came to a point wherein I was like, why do I keep repeating this cycle? It is so stupid. You keep wasting money. You keep endangering yourself, your health. Why do you do it? Why do you do it? I know the answer now. I was doing it because there was a hole in my heart that I was trying to fill with sex, with boys, with pleasure, with drinking. But that hole was never filled. It was never filled, and I was never satisfied. It only gave me trauma. It gave me anxiety. It gave me panic attacks. I've had conversations with people before wherein after sleeping with someone, they would be so worried about everything. What if I got this? What if this one? He's not talking to me anymore. What if blah, blah, blah. All of these, what ifs. It's so crazy how we put ourselves through so much mental anguish. All for what? For a night of pleasure? For one orgasm? So when I came into the faith, I fully understand it now, why premarital sex is bad, why sex outside of marriage is bad, and why we are taught not to have sex with just anyone or everyone. These rules exist to protect us, not restrict us. All of these rules are trying to protect us from hurt, from trauma, from diseases, from mental anguish, from panic attacks, from anxiety, from all of that. They're meant to protect us, not control us. There's also such a thing as soul ties. They say when you have sex with someone, your souls get intertwined. Everything gets intertwined. So, syempre kasama yung mga trauma ng mga taong yun. Whatever they're carrying at the time that they're having sex with you, somehow you also absorb it into your body. In the spiritual realm, you absorb it, right? It's never just a one-night stand. It's never just sex. You know, sex is a spiritual act. It is ano sabi nung acronym? Sacred energy exchange, if I'm not mistaken. It's really true. I have an old episode and I called it Soulful Sex. And I remember that episode because I knew exactly who I was talking about and the sex that I was talking about. But it's deeper. It's deeper than the physical because you're literally having sex with their souls. And that's deep. It's more than the physical. It's more than what you can see, what you can touch. And doesn't that want to make you think twice or maybe thrice before sleeping with just anybody? You know? Because we don't know people. And I'm going to go back to we live in a fallen world. We are all broken people. And some people are out there just to have sex and just to, have the flavor of the night. Pamparaos lang, something like that, right? Do you want to be toys for these people? Do you want to be dragged into whatever mess they have in their lives? You don't. I used to always say when I didn't know Christ before, we were like, protect your peace and everything like that. But then you invite people into your body. You invite these people you don't even know into your body, into your soul. And that's not protecting your peace. And there are so many issues that come after like one night stands. There are so many issues like, does he like me? Is he going to call me? Was it only sex? Oh my gosh, there's a lot. Again, it's the mental anguish that you don't want to have in your life because life is difficult as it is. Why? Why do you want to do that to yourself? There is no such thing as safe sex. So what is safe sex? Safe sex is not having sex at all. Abstinence. Abstinence is abstaining from any sexual contact. Nothing. Literally nothing. Is it possible? Yes, it is. It is possible. And it may seem impossible when you are so used to getting pleasure whenever you want. It may seem impossible if you're coming from that position, from that place. But it is possible. Just like how giving up masturbation is also possible. Anything is possible. But the thing that's going to be tested the most is your self-discipline. So I guess the main message of our episode for today is I want you guys to take just 10 seconds. 10 seconds before you jump into a one-night stand or jump into strangers' arms and having sex with them. Just take 10 seconds. Sobrang bilis lang nun. And I want you to ask yourself, is the amount of pleasure that I'm going to get tonight worth risking my health for? Just one question. I want you to ask yourself that. And if you are listening and you don't remember the question, write it down. Put it in your phone. Is the amount of pleasure I might receive tonight, I'm telling you, it's might. It's not guaranteed that you're going to get pleasure, right? Because you don't know this person. You don't even know if they're going to pleasure you or not. So is the amount of pleasure that I might get tonight worth risking my health for? And if it's not, if you feel like it's not, even if you're drunk na, I want you to put your clothes back on and go home. Get a grab car right now. Put your clothes on, get a grab car, go home. My friends, I say this with as much love as I can. The entire course of your life can be changed by that one decision you make tonight. Am I going to tell you to stop having sex? I'm not. Am I going to tell you to stop sleeping around? I am not as well. It is all up to you. But I just really want you to put those two questions in your head before saying yes to anything, because there is no such thing as safe sex. Now, if you find yourself in a predicament and you don't know who to talk to, you're scared of going to the doctor, you're scared of telling your friends or your family, you can send us a DM. Send at Bible Brunch Manila a DM, and that's me. Don't worry, I don't have a team. I only say we, but it's me. You can talk to me. You can send me a message, and again, that's on Instagram. You can also send me a message via my Instagram account, which is at saytioco. Again, if you find yourself in a predicament, may problema ka, and you don't know who to talk to, and you feel hopeless, you're scared, you are panicking, talk to me. Let's talk. Send me a message. I'm going to reply to you. I'm going to be there. We're going to solve it together. The worst is never the worst. We're going to go through it one step at a time. Okay? Because there is help. There is help. No matter what your problem is right now, whatever you did and whatever consequence that you are facing, it's okay. We're going to solve it. We're going to solve it, and you're okay. Listen to me. You're okay. You just listened to Season 2, Episode 9 of Ask Say the podcast, and this is Saytioco signing out.